Welcome. This session is more about some of the commonly asked questions that people tend to ask within an organization or outside the organization, but focusing on issues related to human resource management. So people tend to ask a number of questions. This is part 3 of the session. We have done 2 parts of the sessions, and this is the third part of the session. So we are looking at the different questions that people tend to ask regarding the human resource management process or profession. So in general, we need to appreciate what are some of the things that you have to look into whenever you are able to, you want to attend to human resource management issues. So sometimes people tend to ask to say, is it right for organizations not to allow people to get married when they are working within the organization? So this is one of the questions or issues that is coming up or has been there for some time, but nowadays these issues tend to come out quite often, whereby maybe employers are asking one of the employees to resign, or maybe someone has to change a department and all that. But what we need to appreciate is to say maybe we should follow the law. The law is silent when it comes to couples working in the same organization. So anything that we are doing shouldn't be in conflict with the law, because everything has to be justified. You might have a policy, but the policy is always overruled by a law. So I don't think the law, we don't have a law that is, because whatever you are doing or you can be doing whereby you are asking employees not to continue working in the organization because they are married, then that is exactly what you can construe as discrimination. So you have, or we can say you have constructively dismissed them or terminated them, and by virtue of asking them not to resign, for example, one of them to resign, what if all of them have decided not to resign? Maybe you're going to discipline them, or maybe you're going to dismiss them, one of them. So if you do that, and how are you going to arrive to say, let's assume you have asked them to resign and all of them have not resigned, whom are you going to determine to say we should be able to do a disciplinary hearing for this one? Maybe some would argue to say the one who has just recently joined. But what if the relationship has just started, maybe soon, and not like they have been there together for some time? So what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, there's no justification for you to terminate service of someone just because they are married to each other. As a matter of um, resolving the problem, what you need to happen is to engage the employees and maybe try to explain to them the situation they are in, to say maybe at that level where there is a marriage, maybe they cannot work as a supervisor and a supervisee, or the couple cannot be able to supervise each other. Maybe the woman supervising the husband, or the husband supervising the woman. So I think what you should be able to explain to them, so you can be able to listen to them, for them to, they have to be transferred maybe to another department or to another branch, just to ensure that they are managing their relationship in a better way, rather than affecting the operations of the organization, but not asking them to move out of the organization in terms of asking them to resign, or maybe we should terminate their services. Because at the end of the day, there is no law that says people cannot work in the same organization as a couple. And also at the same time, for example, if someone is married and he has been employed in an organization, and you find that maybe her spouse is also willing to join the organization, has applied for a job, and you are saying, no, we are not able to employ you just because your husband or your wife is working here. No, there's no law that also has to prohibit that. I think if the person is meeting the necessary requirements, you can be able to recruit such kind of a person. And this is what I would like to say. There's no law that express to say you can be able to terminate service of someone because they're married to each other. And also, I think there are also some things which tend to happen. Maybe employees, employer sometimes can withdraw an offer letter from an employee just because maybe a newly recruited an employee, or sometimes you can what actually happens sometimes, maybe a newly recruited employee has just recently joined and you are telling that person to say maybe because the references were not satisfactory, and or maybe after doing the police checks or maybe the medical grounds, you have found out maybe they are not good, and you are not continuing to work with that kind of a person. So what I would say is maybe for medical grounds, there's no reason for one to terminate services of someone just because of the medical grounds, unless if the sickness is related to what is prescribed in the Employment Act. For example, if someone has worked for some months and has not worked for some months, and you can agree to say maybe the services have to be terminated because that person has not worked for the organization for some months. And I think there's a section in the Employment Act which says how long can one work on full pay, and maybe and also for how long can one work only half pay. So it's 2 months on full pay and 1 month on half pay. Thereafter, you can be able to terminate the services if one is sick. But it happens sometimes that when an employee has just joined, or maybe you have just offered an offer letter and you are withdrawing that offer letter. So what I tend to say is, withdrawing it is not a problem because you have found out that maybe there were some issues that have to be handled. Maybe you got references which are not satisfactory. Also, maybe you had to do some police checks which didn't give you a positive image about the person. But by the end of the day, what we need to appreciate is to say, why did you offer the person the employment before the reference checks, before the police checks? I think it means that there was an error by the Human Resource Department, and what was supposed to happen was to do the reference checks. When you are making an offer, it means you have gotten all the positive references from the police, from the former employers, the referees, and all that. Then you decide to terminate it. You decide now to offer that particular person. So I think that's what is very, very important for us also to appreciate. And there's also some cases whereby people tend to have undergone a training, and maybe there's a training bond which they have signed, and the employee wants to resign, for example. So employers would ask that particular employee to say, you can resign, but you need to pay us the balance on the training bond that you had signed. So they would say maybe if you have served 1 year, you pay 80% of the tuition fee, maybe which we spent on you, or maybe if you have spent 2 years, you pay 60%. When you have spent so much years, you'll be able to pay. But if you have resigned recently, just after getting the paper and you resign, maybe you pay in full what was spent on you. Yeah, but that's right. And because an employer cannot just pay money for free, so he's investing in the employee for him to, as an employer, to benefit and not to benefit other organizations. So if there's a bond, the training bond, that is justifiable, and also it's a legal document, it's binding between the parties, and they have to honor that particular bond. And the employer can sue the employee for not abiding by the terms of the bond, because there's a reason why the employer was investing in you, to ensure that maybe there is support to the organization in the future. So that's what is very, very, very important. And also another thing that we also need to appreciate is issues of, for example, when you are doing job adverts, what we need to appreciate is to say, should you include issues like age, religion, marital status, gender, or sex of someone, the home district, something like that. Should you include these issues when you are making an advert for a job, for example, or when you are shortlisting? Should you consider these issues when you are interviewing? Should you consider these issues, for example? So I think what is important for us to say is, and also under the discrimination under Section 5 of the Employment Act, and also even the Constitution talks about guarding against discrimination of any form, whether because of one's gender or maybe based on one's religion, tribe, marital status, or maybe home district, or even gender. So these are some of the things that we should be able to avoid. We see sometimes some job adverts which are saying, no, we're looking for an employee who between this age range. We are looking for an employee coming from this religion, maybe a Christian or a Muslim. We are looking for people of this tribe. I think, for example, a tribe might not have to be a necessity for one to be recruited, but maybe what you could say is a language. You want to say, want someone who knows Tumbuka, want someone who knows Sena. So by knowing Sena or Tumbuka doesn't necessarily mean that person is a Sena or a Tumbuka, because you can learn a language, and people have said there they know the language, so they can be able to speak that language, and not necessarily because they are Tumbuka or they are Senas. So that's what is very, very important for us to appreciate, because maybe the working environment that that person is going to work will be communicating a lot with those people who speak that particular language. Then that one can be included as part of the requirement, but not issues of age, religion, for example, home district, gender, or sex. No, those are not necessary for whenever you are recruiting employees within an organization. Others would ask to say, what if an organization now has done its gender audit and now they want to fill a gap, to say, for example, they have more women and they want a man to be part of the organization? At that level, it's justifiable. If you communicate through the advert to say, I think due to gender gap that is within the organization, this position is reserved for a woman, or is reserved for men. Then you can be able to justify for that one. That's justifiable. So what we're trying to say is everything you can justify, but you should be able to justify within the confines of the law. Because the one on gender, there's a justification, because under the Gender Equality Act, it promotes the gender equality to say 40-60 within an organization. So you're trying to say 40% should be women and 60% should be women. So for you to fill up that gap, you can justify that for the equality, positive discrimination, and also that's affirmative action. You're trying to fill a gap. So that one is allowed. And there are also some moments whereby an employee is not allowed to serve a notice. For example, I have resigned and my employer is saying, no, we cannot be able to serve a notice because, because once you have resigned, you are leaving the organization, and the organization is like, no, this one cannot continue handling. He handles sensitive information, therefore we cannot trust him to continue handling such kind of information. Of course, it's not good, but it all depends on the situation or the thinking of the employer. But what it means, if that kind of has happened, then the employer should now pay for the 3 months notice. So the employer should be able to pay, because the employee was willing to work for the next 3 months or 1 month if the notice period is 1 month. So the employer should be able to pay the employee for 1 month notice, and also any outstanding leave days, amongst other things. So the employee would leave immediately, but that's what is very, very important for us to appreciate. So that can only happen if the employer is not comfortable for the employee to serve notice, and depending on the kind of data that employee is managing. But of course, it's not right in a way, but all the same, employer can use that, but legally, if he has paid the notice, because already the employee has resigned. So if he has been able to pay the notice and all those, and maybe if the person was entitled to motor vehicles, he is able to pay for the transportation cost, amongst other things. Then for the house, for example, can continue living in the house, or maybe can pay him off and all that, then the employee can be allowed to leave. And also the others people tend to under what circumstances can you use third-party recruitment agencies? Yeah, like Change Consult Group, yeah, which happen to be one of the partners. At what level or at what stage can you use third-party recruitment agencies? Let me say, sometimes it could be you have got a lot of vacant positions and you want to fill them, but now it happens that maybe you're too busy with other things now for you to go through all the processes, advertising, shortlisting, interviewing, reference checks, and all that. Maybe you don't have the time, so you can ask someone to do it for you. So you can ask the third-party recruiter like Change Consult Group and do the recruitment for you. And also it happens sometimes in other cases, maybe you are looking at a situation whereby the employees that are being involved in the process, for example, that can apply or that would apply, they are within the organization, and you're not comfortable to interview them because you feel like maybe there could be some biases. Yeah, so you get a third party recruiter to do the recruitment for you. And sometimes even some employees can complain to say, if you feel the process cannot be fair, then we are not taking part in this process and all that. And for you to be objective and fair to them, what is needed is for you to engage third-party recruiters. So that's also another reason which you can use or form basis for you to engage third-party recruiters for, and also for objectivity. Yeah, for objectivity, because maybe you are looking at to say maybe within the organization the issues of nepotism, where people can be really good in their relations and all that. You to now to cushion yourself against that, then you engage third-party recruiters. And also people tend to ask to say, in Malawi, do you have any law that allows people, that guards against foreigners to work in Malawi? Yes, we have got the temporary employment permit, which is a document that is given to foreigners to work to Malawi. So there's a process. They have to convince the Malawi government to say, the organization has to convince the Malawi government to say they have failed to get a person within Malawi and or a Malawian, and now they want to go abroad and get someone from abroad to work in the organization because of that technical expert that person has. And this person is only approved, or they are allowed to advertise externally when there is evidence to say they did advertise locally and indeed there were no applications against that advert. And assuming the country had a database of employees, I think that would have been easier. Yeah. And also at the same time, there are also some moments whereby whenever the recruiter, this foreign national has come into the country, it's important for the organization to assign someone as a mentee to study whatever this foreign professional is doing. So it's also very, very important for that to happen, so that you're able to assign someone so that who can be able to take over after the contract of that expatriate. That's also very, very important. And also sometimes it happens that an employee to say, can one accumulate leave days, for example, if this particular person is working from home. Yeah, we all know nowadays, because of technology and also among other things, people are working from home. Some organizations even don't have an office space. They operating from home and they are doing their work from home, yeah, due to a number of things. But we should also be appreciative that that is very possible for one to work from home. And you can say, but now the argument should be to say, can the now employees who are working from home, for example, accumulate leave days? Yeah, what should happen when they are on? Can they go for maternity leave? What happens on sick leave? Yes, because they don't have to go to a specific place which called a workplace, but they are still working from their homes. Yeah, so I think what is important for us to appreciate is that yes, an employee who is working from home can be on leave, on annual leave, because the periods, the hours that he is working from home, it means we can have a duration. And also nowadays we're talking about the flexible working hours. can work from 8 maybe to 10 o'clock, and maybe from 2 p.m. to 4 o'clock, or maybe from 8 p.m. in the evening to 10 p.m. Yeah, because of the flexible working hours, maybe within the 24 hours. Yeah, someone can start working at 1 a.m. and finish at 5 a.m. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about, the flexible working hours. An employee is allowed to work at any hour, but it all depends on the nature of the job. Yeah, maybe some jobs which will just require a laptop, you can be able to work from home, and or even work from your hotel. But what is important for us to appreciate, this is only applicable for some specific jobs. Yeah, but you might find that some jobs you need to physically be at the office, but it's possible for such kind of people to accumulate or to apply for leave days. So it means during the time they are on leave, it means they will not be attending to work related issues. Maybe they will delegate to someone who will be attending to the work related issues. That's what is very, very important whenever you are considering to have such kind of a system whereby people are working from home. Yeah, so I think this is what is very, very important for us to appreciate and also to manage within the human resource management. So this is the end of this session. If you want more questions to be answered, could reach out to Change Consult Group, CCG at changeconsult.org, or reach out to me on 099938 or +265 99938 6677 +265 99938 6677. So you can go reaching me up to me, and we can be able to interact. I hope you're enjoying the videos. Thank you so much.